in Florida, and on this little acreage was a hunter's retreat. The man that we bought it from used to go there and hunt, and he could stay there in this little house. It had no electricity. It did not have running water. It was just a little cabin. And so Wells and I moved into that. I have something. Wells and I moved into that, and well, we knew we didn't have electricity, so Wells got an old water heater tank. And he had the men in the priesthood come. He built He built a
tower, scaffolding, a tower.
Yeah.
Posts.
So we could put it up as high up into the house as we could put it. This was a little cabin that had a garage in the bottom. No door, just a garage where you could park your tractor, and then upstairs, so it was just a 2-bedroom or 2-room cabin, the kitchen and the bedroom. And up at the very top, he installed this water heater. He had the priesthood come out and help him lift it up, and they got this empty water heater tank up there. What would that do? Well, we also had a well at the outside close to the cabin, and so we got a gasoline engine. We didn't have electricity, so it had to be gasoline, and we pumped water. We'd start the engine, we'd pump water up into the tank. Well, guess what we could do when we went in the house? We could turn the water on because he had installed pipes also in the house. And we turned the water on, and what did we have? We had water. Why did we have water? Because it was up higher and it just flew down. Gravity. And so then we had running water. We had to run out and start the engine when we needed more water, but that's how we got the running water. We lived there for about 9 years without electricity. I had 5 and a half children before we got electricity. How did we get electricity?
I just want to make one. This is when Mom grew up with electricity. I mean, if you're thinking she lived before there was electricity, I mean, she grew up as a child, she had electricity. So she was raised with electricity, and then she got married, and she lives without. So that's like you going and living without electricity. It's the same thing.
Well, it's a little different.
What?
We have like 2.
So one day, well, of course, he walked around the property all the time, because we had cattle. And he had to make sure the cattle were secure and didn't get out on the highway. Our place was about halfway between Jacksonville and St. Augustine. Does anybody know what happened in St. Augustine? That was the first place where they settled. St. Augustine was the first city in Florida. Very first, that's when they came over and settled in St. Augustine. There was a big fort in St. Augustine, and you could go there because that's where they had secured their life, I guess. So anyway, Wells was walking around the fence line one day, and he came running into the house, and he said, the electric company's been chopping down our little trees. Well, we were already in the pulpwood business. What's pulpwood? it's what they go to the paper mill and they make paper out of. And so we had a big truck and we would chop down our trees on our property, and Wells would drive it into the pulpwood factory and sell the trees. They were cut up in certain lengths, and we sold the trees, the logs. We sold the logs to the paper company. So one day he was walking the things and he saw that the electric company had come down and had chopped down our little trees. And so he came running down to the house and he said, I've got to go up to make a phone call to the electric company. Now see, we live 2 miles from the first telephone. So we had to get in the car and go up to a Catholic school up on the highway, which was about 2 miles away. And we had to go up there to use the phone if we had an emergency. We didn't have telephone service at the house because we didn't have electricity or anything. So we went up there and called the water company, the electric company, and they said, oh no, we've not been out there cutting any trees. And he said, well, you need to come and see. And so they said, we'll be right out. And they came right out from Jacksonville. It was just a short time, it was about as fast as they could get there. And they came out and Wells went around the property and showed them where they'd been cutting down these trees. And he said, oh, you're right, we've been doing this. He said, what will it take to make it right with you? And Wells said, well, we don't have electricity. It costs over $1,000 to run the line down from the highway down to our place. And of course, $1,000 at that time was probably like $20,000. I was working, but I wasn't making money like that. So they came and they installed the poles, and we got electricity. And so from then on, we had electric. We had a gasoline refrigerator, a kerosene refrigerator. We had a kerosene iron. This is a kerosene iron. There's a pump you put on here. You'd fill this up with kerosene, and then you'd put the pump on here and you'd pump it, and then the fire would come out here and it would heat this iron. And this is what you ironed with because we didn't have electricity. So this is our iron that we used. We ironed everything, and at that time they didn't have
Permanent press.
what?
Permanent press.
Yeah, permanent press material.
Wrinkle free.
And so everything had to be ironed. You didn't have anything that was like they have today where you could just wash it, hang it up, and it would look good. We had the old cotton, and that was not, you had to be ironed. So we had we had this, and this was our iron. And so, let's see. So we lived there for 3 or 4 more years, and then we moved in. Where did we move? Oh, we bought another ranch out in Callahan.
Callahan Road. I thought that's where that was.
No, this is in Loretta.
Oh, okay.
And so we bought a ranch in Callahan, and we had 6,000 chickens.
6,000.
And so they all were laying eggs, and so we had this, they were all in, your shed, and you walked down the center of the shed, and there was cages on each side. And as the chickens laid an egg, it would roll down because of the way the these cages were built, it would roll down into a tray. So all we had to do was walk down this aisle and gather the eggs on both sides. We had 7 or 8 of those chicken houses that we would gather the eggs every day. And then we had, after we had all the eggs, we needed to get rid of them, didn't we? We needed to sell them so we could make money. So Wells got some ladies and with cars, and they went around and got orders for eggs. And so every week they would go to that one house and deliver eggs to the people that got fresh eggs. And I handled all the eggs. And when I had children, I just put them in a box and we went to the egg house, handled the eggs. And at that time, what happens when you candle the eggs? You look inside the eggs. There's lights, and the eggs go along this ramp, and you look and see if there's any blood spots in them. And if there was any blood spots, you had to take them out. You couldn't sell them. And so we ate a lot of eggs because those were free. We couldn't sell them, so we had to use them. And at that time, you know how the egg has a pointed thing and then it's round on the other end? We had to, every egg had to go down a certain way. I know they don't do that anymore, but they used to tell us we could, if they would come and inspect us, and if they weren't turned the right way, we were penalized. So you had to keep that egg with the point going down on every, as we packaged the eggs.
Why?
And so we had 7 or 8 routes where Wells would take the eggs into a place and meet them in Jacksonville, and then they would take their eggs and their orders and take them and deliver them to the houses. And so that's how we made a little bit of money at that time. Is that enough?
That's awesome, but, I mean, we love hearing you, Mom.
Oh,
Depends on you.
wait. I'm not. Why did they have to be at the certain point, facing the certain point?
They used to, I don't remember.
Okay.
That was just the rule, because but I can't remember the reason that they said that. I really can't, but
We'll
I
have to
know
Google that.
we had to, the eggs had to go that way, and now they say it doesn't matter, they don't. I can't tell you, I just can't remember.
Sorry, Mason.
Willeen has a question.
Well, Gary thinks that it's because they last longer if they're set in that way. But I wanted to tell a story. I'll pass this around. We went there with our family, and this is a picture of what was left of the house that Mom's talking about, and this is a piece of the house. A piece of the house that was laying on the ground. We brought home I don't know what the coins are. Dad added the coins. You've seen these raccoon skins laying around Mom's house, and every one of Mom's kids have one of these. And some of you might not know the story of why we have one of these. We, as kids, would complain about Father's Day, Mother's Day. When in the heck do we get Children's Day? You know, we're always doing Mom and Father's Day. When is Children's Day?
Your birthday.
So, one day, it was not too far after Mother and Father's Day, Mom and Dad had us all come in the room, and they had presents wrapped up. And these were all rolled up in tissue paper with a bow on it and said, "Today's Children's Day." So we opened them up, and these raccoons Dad trapped. The raccoons like to eat the eggs out of the chicken coop. So he would catch them, and then he sent them to a tanning place and got them all tanned. So we all have one of these. Ask your parents where they are. Mine's hiding upstairs. You might
Or your grandparents.
So I thought that might be fun for you guys.
Good.